Hi, this is Joe, KF7MIX. This video is to help those who are having trouble installing Spotter in Linux. Usually I try to keep my videos short, but I'm not going to worry about the length of this video. We're just going to cover everything that you need to know, including a few things that I found that can be problematic that aren't covered in the current documentation, but that will be covered later. So first of all, this is pretty much a fresh install of Linux Mint XFCE, which is one of the more common variants of Linux that you find out there. It's also similar to things like Debian and Ubuntu, using the same package manager. So some of the solutions here will apply to various different forms of Linux or distributions of Linux. Let's go ahead and open up the files and we'll start there. All right. So first what we're going to do is I'm going to right click in here and just go open in terminal. I've made the font large in the terminal so it's easy to see. First thing you want to check if you're installing in Linux, you want to make sure you have the right version of Python 3. So you can just type Python 3 and you can see here that I got 3.12.3. So this is an updated version. You should have something similar to that. All right, and I believe there are certain things that are set up in Spotter that you do need 3.12. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe that is the case. So make sure your version of Python is up to date. Usually that will be the case as long as your system is up to date. Next thing you want to do is in this folder is you want to, we'll go ahead and list the files, is we're going to run the Spotter file manually. That's the Python file, so we'll just type Python 3 space JS8Spotter.py. Okay, now this is what you're going to read if you open up in your files. You can see README.linux. And it's going to talk about some of the program requirements. And mostly these are libraries that are part of Python, and they just need to be installed. So right here you'll see that we ran into the first one. It couldn't load the library, module not found, tk enter. So you see this is the solution for that. We're actually just going to copy that, because that is the correct solution, and we're going to run it. And that command will go ahead and install the software. You can also go into the software store and search around that way, but frankly the command line's a lot faster and easier. But if that's your thing, you can use your software store, install it that way, search for it that way, however you want to do it. Now we're going to go ahead and use the up arrow key to scroll through our commands, and we're going to try running it one more time. Now you're going to notice that, hey, there's another thing missing. Specifically, the thing that's missing is image.tk, which is part of PIL, which is the pillow library. So if you look in the documentations, that is mentioned right here, and it says to resolve it by doing this. So we're going to go ahead and copy that. And you do need both of those libraries. So PIL and PIL.image.tk are two separate things. So let's go ahead and paste that in here. And that will install. And then let's just use the up arrow key and try running it again. Now we could have just installed all these libraries right away and tried it out, and it would have worked without any errors, but it's good enough to just run it and see what's missing. Of course, we don't have JS8 call running right this moment, so it's not connecting to that. So it did load though without any errors. Now notice this right here, because we're running it through the command line, we can see this error. This is where it's failing to connect to the JS8 call. So that's fine, doesn't matter, doesn't affect us for this. When you're actually running JS8 call, it will connect just fine. Let me show you that error one more time so you can see what it looks like. The error, first of all, we got two errors. One is a missing sound library, and this error was handled in here, which is why there's no error in the command line. So it's just saying the program's still going to function fine, but you can install the TK snack library if you want sound. Okay, we'll handle that in a second. Now this one is the TCP error where it's saying you can't connect to JS8 call over the network. Okay, that's just showing us that we don't have JS8 call running. You go into here into settings, you make sure that this matches in your settings in JS8 call, and then all is well. All right, so let's handle that sound library. That is mentioned in that error, and it's also mentioned right here. Now, this is just assuming that you'll figure out how to do this for that library, but let's go ahead and just, I'm going to show you how to search for a missing library. You can always use apt cache search. If you're using the GUI, you can just search in there. And we're going to search for TK snack. All right, and that's the name of it. So we use the up arrow. We can use the same command that we used before, and we can just copy that. And get that installed. And now, if we go ahead and run it, let me just go ahead and start JS8 call. I don't have a radio connected to this virtual machine, but it should just connect to the normal sound card driver. Okay, now it's running. Now let's go ahead and just try running the spotter program. There we go. It started up with absolutely no errors. And so that's how you get through this in this README.linux, how you get through these installing of these different libraries. It's pretty straightforward. These are the instructions for the command line. Let me just show you. Let's see if we have the software manager GUI, so you can see how that works as well. And we'll just let's take a look at like TK enter and see if we can search for it. I'm not a big fan of the GUI. It takes a little bit longer, and it's not as straightforward. But some people prefer it, so let's take a look at it. And then we'll look at one other issue, which is also covered in the README file for Linux, and that is how to create an application launcher. Because not everyone is willing or wants to deal with the terminal. Not everyone loves it, and that's just fine. You don't have to launch the program through the terminal. Let me just correct one thing. Okay, this represents more how the files will be when they're unpacked. No permissions set for executable. So that's going to get us to where we need to, so you can see how to set up that shortcut. Okay, that is just taking its time. So we're just gonna let it do its thing. All right, and we will close this because we don't need it right now. All right, like I said, if you don't want to start the program by going in here and typing it out like that, you don't have to. You can certainly make a desktop shortcut, which is covered right here. The process for making a desktop shortcut varies from distribution to distribution, so I'm going to show you how to do it. The one that's in here is I think a lot of modern systems will work with just manually creating a desktop file for launching, but we're going to use their GUI method here. So the first thing you need to do if you want to do that, let's just check on this, see how it's doing. Oh, it's good. All right, we'll do this first then. All right, so remember, we're going to show you how to install a library like TK enter. We're going to search for that. It's a little slower in the GUI, but that's life. All right, so here's Python 3 TK. Notice it has a check mark because we already installed it. And there's well, that was TCL snack, but if you wanted to search for it and install it from here, you could do it right from the GUI as well. So either way, doesn't matter. Both of them get the job done exactly the same way in the background. All right, let's talk about that shortcut. So first thing you want to do is go to your files and find the JS8Spotter.py. That's the Python file. And in the GUI, what you want to do is right-click on it and go to the properties. You want to go into your permissions and make sure to check mark allow this file to run as a program. Okay, we'll hit close just to show you what it's doing in the background. It'll list the files, and you'll see that this one here has these X's in different positions for users and groups and everything else. Basically, that means the X means it's executable. It means it can be run as a program. Okay, that's step one. Step two is that you want to open that file and make a little change at the top. Okay, we're going to add a shebang, this line right here. Actually, let me show you one other thing you'll need to know. You need to know where Python 3 is living on your system. So in a terminal, type where is Python 3. And you're going to see that's going to show you where the file is located. So you want to copy that and then go back to editing this file, and you're going to put that !! shebang right there and paste it just like that. Okay, and you want to save that file and you can close it. Okay, now it's been marked executable, and that first line tells your system, well, what do I want to execute it with? And that is Python. Okay, so now that's done. That's step two. And then the final step is creating a shortcut. In here, you'll just go to your desktop and create a launcher. Give it a name, and then you got to find it. We've got it right here. There we go. And then the working directory needs to be set to the same folder. So that's this one right here, which I'm missing the button there. Okay, there you go. All right, so those are all set. We can either choose to run it in a terminal or not. That's kind of your personal preference. You can select an icon. There's one that comes with the program. It is, again, in the same folder. And then I'll hit create. And now you'll see that from here you can run that just by double-clicking on it. It's going to give us that warning that JS8 call is not running. And that's the basics of getting this thing running in Linux. Just once again to review, you gotta download your JS8Spotter and unpack it. Then you got to make sure you have a working version of Python. If you don't have a working version of Python, you know, if it's not installed on your system, it will come pre-installed on most Linux distributions. I'd be surprised at a modern mainstream one not having it. If you don't have it for whatever reason, go into your software manager or do it from the command line and just do sudo apt install Python 3. That'll install it, no problem. Again, same thing in here. Just do a search for Python 3. Click on the one you find and hit install up here. This one's already installed, so. But not hard, there's no magic going on there. You just got to make sure you have Python. That's step one. And then step two is that you got to make sure you have the libraries. You can install the ones that are listed here. That'll get you going in the README file. Or just try running the program in the terminal. If you run the program in the terminal, it'll tell you what libraries are missing, and you can just install them as you go. For most systems, it will just be these ones right here that are already listed. And then the last thing we went over was how to create an application launcher. If you want to just run it by double-clicking an icon. This even talks about modifying your Python file for it to be executable as well. So that's it for how to install it in Linux, and that's if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me on QRZ.